Okay, great. And so I'll just kind of go like this and cue you guys. Okay. Are we ready to start?
It's almost time.
Are we ready to roll, everybody? Okay. Please rise for our first song.
Yeah, it's official.
Yep, it's official.
Okay. Just checking my tune there.
What's my key? This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Come on out. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Rev Clyde Goings, and I want to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day online. So we have these flowers that are very expensive, by the way. If you buy flowers on Mother's Day, they are expensive. That's all I'm going to say. So these are expensive flowers. And so anyways, we want to honor the mothers out there. So Hank or Bo. So Bo is helping us. So if you have not been greeted by Bo yet, if you could raise your hand so he could greet you. For all the mothers, that says, just the mothers. Bo. Yes, Bo. You're working, Bo. All right. So as Bo is greeting all the mothers out there, I just want to wish everybody, again, all the mothers, a happy Mother's Day, and knowing I'm just really happy for the whole idea around Mother's Day, right? So this is God's way of showing us that tender, loving, nurturing care that is always present with us, always. And so I love all mothers because I love my mother, and so I just want to honor all the mothers on this beautiful day. So today is a wonderful day, not only because it's Mother's Day, because we're also having Dining with the Dudes. Yes. So I hope you're coming to service with a empty belly because we have plenty of food in there. It's set up really, really nicely for Mother's Day. So we're going to have a great time after service. So if you guys are online and you want to come down and eat after service, come down because we will have plenty of food for everybody. So I just want to welcome everybody. All right, so I want to get this service going because it is a beautiful day. So let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. And so it is. So just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Rev Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a
quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
Good morning. In this sacred space, at this sacred moment in time, there is only one essence. That essence I choose to call God. Love, joy, beauty, peace, abundance, prosperity. The essence of all there is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be. And I know that I am all of what God is. And as I know that for myself, I know that for everyone in this room. And I know it for everyone watching online. In fact, I know it for the whole planet. We are all part of one. We all contain the same spiritual DNA as God. God lives and moves and has its being in us. And as we go forth throughout our day, we show God. And I'd like to say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their wonderful music that always, always makes us feel good and connects us with each other and with God. And I say a word of blessing for Rev Karen and her divine wisdomed message that she delivers to us today and teaches us so that we can take these principles and show forth and become better God sparks, so that we show up as God. And so I just release this whole service into the law, knowing it is absolutely perfect, absolutely whole, absolutely complete. And together we say, and so it is. So yesterday, I went to the art thing, and I was talking to some people. All right, come on. What can I say? You know me. Anyway, so I was talking to some people, and I said I was going to be on the pulpit today, and out of my mouth came, what do you want to hear about? So they said, letting go. So here we go. We're going to let go and let God. If one would take time, once a day at least, to let go of all that is not true and lay hold of reality, big R, let go of doubt, distrust, worry, condemnation, and fear, and lay hold of life in its expressions of beauty, truth, and wholeness, his mental congestion would be healed. Keep the mind and the body open to the reception of truth. It is the static, fixed, inflexible outlook which produces a tendency on the part of the body and its muscles and functions to become tense and underactive. Hold steadfastly to the thought that all of life is in a state of eternal flow. Relax your thought and allow the free flow of the life essence in and through you. And your body will respond to its healing activity. Inaction will quickly disappear into native nothingness in the rhythm and harmony of all your bodily functions. Think about that. And so it is.
Ready? Let's start the drums here.
When my world is not okay, when there's roadblocks in my way, when I feel so all alone, these words will bring me home. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. Oh, oh, oh. Let love lead the way. Yeah. Let love lead the way. When we can't see eye to eye, no matter how we try, we can find our harmony if you sing along with me. Yeah, let love lead the way. Let love lead the way. Oh, oh, oh. Let love lead the way. Yeah. Let love lead the way. In everything, love will be the gift I bring to give and to receive, straight from the heart. Let love lead the way. Come on, let me hear you. Let love lead the way. Oh, oh, oh. Let love lead the way. Yeah. Let love lead the way. Oh, let love lead the way. Two more times. Let love lead the way. Let love lead the way.
Nice.
Thank you.
That's the way to start a service. Come on, you and you were eavesdropping all morning at my house, weren't you? Because you just gave the whole message. I love it when we're so in sync. Good morning. How about some house lights so I can see everybody? Happy Mother's Day, everybody. And you know, on Mother's Day, I like to really remind us that we are honoring the maternal spirit, not just the moms, but the way that all of us have mothered and nurtured creations in our own life. And so thank you for being here today. And Reverend Clyde didn't tell us but I think he has a surprise for us in store. So I am talking about something very interesting this morning. It is the title of my message is, it's going to be really hard not to sing it. I read the news today. Oh boy. Can you sing it? Can you just go, I read the news today. Oh boy. I always want to go, oy vey, oy vey. I read the news today, oy vey. Oh, so I was, gathering material for talk titles for the year, and I came across this quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes in The Essential Earnest, and he said these words, and man, these kinds of little snippets of things he said knock me, they stun me, they get my attention. He said, "We are in the world and we are of it, and it is good that it is so." It's a great spin on that. And then he says, "The world is all right when we view it correctly." Now, I want you to hear this, because what I'm recognizing is the more I talk about all the positive things we can do, and by the way, you might as well just take some notes today, because this is one of those, the whole message, I think, is one giant homework assignment. There are lots of, isn't it great we're recording and archiving? You don't even have to take notes. You can listen to it later again. That we are looking today at something we can really use. When Holmes says something, or your minister says something like, "The world is all right when we view it correctly," it's not because we're sticking our head in the sand. It's not because we're Pollyannas, and it's not because we don't look at what's going on in the world and feel an obligation to respond to that stuff. We are not saying, nor did Ernest Holmes or any of the other metaphysicians, we are not saying bad things don't happen. We're not saying that. But what we are saying is that there is something that the world will be right in our own mind when we are ready to see it correctly, meaning that in this world we live in this magnificent universe where everything fits in this perfect order, it knows how to do all the movement and the connections. If we see it rightly, we are remembering that it is the nature of life itself to restore the things that get damaged after a storm. It is the nature of life to repair the pieces that seem disconnected, that always things are brought back into that beautiful wholeness, but it's up to us to look for it. I believe that one of the most useful statements Dr. Holmes ever made, and I believe he harped on this, he said it in lots of different ways, but it's this idea that life reveals itself to anyone that is receptive to it. All of that harmony, and harmony, by the way, is the principle that I'm speaking of today, so really good work, you guys. You called out some of what I just intend to say today. All of that harmony is there even when life is chaotic, and I try and say some variation of that to you every week, but we have to be open to see it. It requires the smallest bit of willingness on our part to recognize that no matter what's happening and what we see or what we think we see, there's a bigger something else happening, and that there's this gorgeous harmony that is desiring to be revealed so that the world can be a little bit better. And that can only happen as we do our part. So I believe that I find these things really meaningful to me personally, because it's a constant reminder that no matter how lost I might feel, I can always find my way back. And so can you. No matter how complicated or complex life is, God is never absent. So there's this rhythm in life that I like the idea of speaking to harmony and rhythm together. Now, I know nothing about music, but I'll bet you could make a whole talk about that. I like that we find our rhythm. We say that, sort of without thinking about what it means, but we're wanting to reveal that natural divine harmony that wants to be expressing through us in our very own life, and that harmony lies under every circumstance. It lies at the center of every condition. It is right there in the middle of every health problem and every difficulty we might experience in any way. It is still there. And when we view correctly, we will see what it is, and we will know what it is we are called to do. when I look at those words where Holmes said, we're in the world and we are of it, so he's quoting from John, the 17th chapter, but then he puts this delightful spin on it. Imagine somebody brazen enough to twist Scripture a little bit so it has some different shade of meaning that hopefully we can each apply. Even those of us who are Jewish and don't get the whole Jesus thing at all, there's something amazing happening here. So he does this twist, and what he says is, we're in the world and we're of it, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So when I look at the context of where he pulled that from, once again, I'm jumping ahead. So I'll tell you that in a minute. But I have been thinking about, a really good speaker would pull that off, do it out of order, know right where she was, but, you got me, so here we go. Yes, yes. And it is a good thing when viewed correctly. That's right out of Holmes' mouth. I've always found it really interesting so Holmes is saying it's a good thing to be in the world and of the world. And I find it interesting that we have such great respect, as we should, for all those people who have dedicated their entire lives to the religious path, and they live these cloistered lives. And actually, I have to confess, it has a little appeal to me. I think it's why I have long hair. I feel like a nun, it's like a traditional nun without all the, And so they live this cloistered life by removing themselves from the world so that they may live in a spiritually centered environment. And we know that. We know that we love that. Phyllis and I were having a very brief discussion when I was walking around the room just a minute ago. And there's a retreat going on in Asilomar that's coming up this summer. And she keeps trying to talk me into going. And I've been many times, and I really love that retreat. But that's why we love those spiritual retreats, because we get to go away and we get to be surrounded by people that are thinking just like us, and then we're just fed. It's like Disneyland for adults, I think. It's like you have to pick between what workshops you're going to attend, and the food is always good, and the camaraderie is that nothing is better. It's actually hard to come home after those kinds of experiences of joining with other people where we can do that. So I love that idea of the cloistered life, and yet, even more than that, there's this quote I'm going to read to you now from Joseph Campbell, and I always lose this quote, and it'll take me 6 months to find it again, but whenever I find it, I love to share it with you because it's so meaningful to me personally. He said, "In loving the spiritual, you cannot despise the earthly." In loving the spiritual, you cannot despise the earthly. And I would like to stretch that out to say, for me, included in that experience of the earthly living, the human living, are all those relationships. And let's face it, relationships can be clunky. Raising kids is not easy. It's not all sweet and pretty, right? Except in the Bradford house. I'm sure the Bradford house, it's wonderful. But I love that it is the complexity in relationships that really grow us the most. And so we're talking about the way that we love the spiritual, but we cannot despise the stuff that comes with a human experience. Right? We should cherish the planet. We should appreciate the beauty that we see and experience in nature. And we can use this human experience in a way that I believe our Creator intended for us. Every time the world gets too complex, there then has to be some kind of big change, and that's what we see going on in the world. Relationships are the messiest work of all, especially family relationships. Some of the best healing comes from dealing with people in all sorts of ways. I was thinking when I was writing that we tend to personalize even the issues going on in the world. So we're living in this time of tremendous polarity with there's an opinion here and the opinion over here couldn't be further away, but we don't understand that the majority of the time we're arguing about the same thing. And it sort of starts to cross over. I read a statistic that said if you talk about gun control, you get immediately in your mind, you know where you stand, and there's equal people that disagree with you. As many people that agree with it, there's people that disagree with it, and it fuels us. There's a lot of those kinds of headlines in the news this week or so, as always. And what we miss under gun control is that they never report on the news. They never give you these statistics that show that even in that group of pro and con, that there is a large majority of people who agree on say, like registering guns. And there are all these topics that are more neutral, but we don't hear that because that's not news. Right? And so that's all we got is it doesn't matter what the issue is. You've got the polarity. And then I believe that we personalize it. We personalize our problems by putting a face to the opposite opinion. Right? So it might not even be a real face, but it's those liberals. Oh, it's the right-wingers. It's the Christian fundamentalists. We're pointing and we're blaming and we're personifying an issue because that's what our tendency is to do. So it is true that we're each unique and we carry different perspectives, and that our daily homework is taking time to notice that, to find your own biases. And we are looking at this idea that we've had to live with it. And we've had to live with it in almost, it feels exaggerated in the way that we've had to live with it. So there's a lot to think about. But when we prioritize harmony, it changes the face of everything. It becomes less polarized and more unified in that ways. And that's what I wished we would be looking for. That's what I wish would be reporting on. All the middle stuff where we don't disagree with each other. We just maybe see it slightly different instead of the extreme that have the loudest, of course, voices. I'm not even sure they're loud voices. I think it's the way it's reported that then makes us have that vision of how polarized we are. I also wonder if maybe we shouldn't quit talking about it. I keep noticing how often it seems like a relevant word to talk about because we're all talking about how polarized. Maybe we need to quit talking about it. We need to start talking more about the harmony that exists in the middle of it and the ways we don't disagree in those extreme ways. Because here's the bottom line, and I know not everybody can hear this in the way that I intend it, because you got to take classes. There'll be more classes announced soon, and you need to take those classes to understand this stuff in greater depth. And right here in the front row is a brand new foundation student who will agree with this. You may be the only one in the class that has never taken that class before. What, John, are you you too? Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah, there we go. We got it. We got this down. Yeah. Oh, you got to pick the right person to play God on that class day, and you did well. So what I want to say, and it's sometimes a little hard to hear, but the first thing I kind of harp on when you get in the foundation class is we have to start reconfiguring what we believe about God and what God looks like. God is not a person. God is not a person. God's a principle. Okay, so now that feels a little too impersonal for me personally, but God is a principle that is both personal and and also impersonal at the same time, because there are laws, impersonal laws like gravity, like electricity, that are there, that exist in the universe. They are working all the time, and then we use it. We can jump in and we can use it. And so it is a great symbol of all the ways in which we talk about the spiritual power in the universe that is greater than we are. And it is there waiting for us to use it, to direct the energetic force of just our awareness of it and how to apply the skills in our personal lives. So when I say we're talking about the principle of harmony today, I'm talking about the way I want to live this week. This is my dedication. I want it to be yours too. This week, I am going to live and move and have my being, my existence in harmony. And that is the way I am living in God, right? And I am allowing God to be alive in me because I'm living in harmony. You know, I want to choose to live in love, and I want to choose to live in peace. And I don't take all the things because I'm going to intend to focus on 2 or 3 of those things, and then I'm going to do those things well. Just hung out with my family last night. I'm sorry, I'm feeling a little potty-mouthed, and we're a pretty casual family. We just say it like it is, and it's like I have to remember where I'm at today. So God is that. You know, when I'm in the flow, I'm in God. When I'm in the real flow, when I got that divine thing moving through me, I'm in God. There's a series of lectures that Dr. Ernest Holmes gave in the 1960s. They're called the Beverly Hills Lectures, and they published them. Somebody transcribed them, and they published it in a book. And I actually think we have the book in the bookstore. And it's one of those books that because they're lectures he gave, it's like, and they're very spontaneous. He didn't like write a whole talk like this. He was very spontaneous. So what you hear in those, or you read in those books, are the way he was thinking in those it wasn't in the 60s. He died at 1960. Yeah, that doesn't work. That math didn't compute. They had to be in the 50s. Thank you, John. Thank you, God. So Holmes gave these lectures, and I found this quote, something he actually said to a big audience with a few thousand people sitting there listening. He was so brazen, and he said, you know, Jesus didn't say the world was bad. Dr. Holmes, his opinion, obviously you could disagree. Jesus didn't say the world was bad. He said that he had overcome it. He said, I am no longer subject to the world. The world is subject to me. Yeah, right. Thank you for being ahead of me on that one. That was good. That he was not subjected to the evils of the world because he had learned how to pay attention to what he was thinking and how to redirect his thoughts. He had learned that he could overcome the mental perceptions. Remember, he said, do not judge by appearances. There is a way we can overcome that. And he lived his life as a demonstration of doing that well. And so he is saying that I don't have to be a victim of circumstances, and you don't either. And come on, in the Christian world, the crucifixion is a pretty big part of the story, you know, and he's saying to us, you don't have to be a victim to circumstances, and I wasn't, and I will not be. And then he leans into that conversation around the risen consciousness that allows us, all of us, to transcend our problems. He gave us that example. Right? It is written. I don't care if you think the Bible is mythology or that he lived and all the red letters are really actually words he said. Probably not. But, you know, the great Bible scholars will debate it forever. And we like thinking those are the words he actually really said. And somebody wrote it on a papaya leaf really quick so they would have the exact wording. He says, I love this boldness. He says, Jesus didn't say the world was bad. He's talking about transcending that which you have judged in a negative way. So I believe the question, and here's where you can really hone in if you want to do some personal work on it this week. How do we avoid feeling trapped by circumstances, being terrified by some of the headlines, feeling limited in some of our choices because of all the changes in the world? I mean, just the grocery store alone, you know, the way it's difficult to find product. Can you imagine after 40 years they've discontinued my favorite eyeliner? I have no idea what I'm going to do. Have I not had enough loss in my life lately? So I cannot believe Prestige is not making my favorite eyeliner. I don't know what I'm going to do. I could cry. I should move on. So, thank you. Thank you. I can do this. I am not weak and I am not limited. I'm putting my demand on the law. So you're all going to pray for me this week to find the perfect replacement for that pencil. How do we avoid that feeling of being trapped or limited by the circumstances that just kind of unfold in our life? And the answer is this. This is where either write it down, ask me again later while I still have the notes in front of me, or watch the rerun, because the answer to that question is the way we avoid feeling limited or diminished by it is by being accountable for our own view, by seeing the world correctly. Not to say that didn't happen. Damn it, prestige. That happened, and I can deal with it. And look at all the support I get from my beautiful friends. So I want you to know that even ministers, when I read the headlines, whatever the headlines may be, even ministers read reports in the news of things that we have an opinion or a bias about. And some of those headlines have really upset me. Oh, it's so good. I was almost going to say pissed me off. I just didn't. So good. I'm doing so good today. In spite of all the circumstances, I'm doing a good job here. When those things upset me, and I've now had a personal reaction to something that I read or heard. And when I have a reaction like that, whether it is a rumor that has been leaked, whether it is breaking news that's totally in your face, whether it is fake news and it means nothing at all, it doesn't matter. If I am upset, I have had a physical, visceral reaction in my body. And something now is negative. Let me just tell you, when I get upset over that stuff, I rarely rise in consciousness, right? And so I'm pretty normal. I get right in that pit. Because the weight of that negativity of my own opinion weighs me down. And I want to be, in charge of my life. I want to make better choices so that my bias and my perspective isn't working against me. Right? If it's not helping me show up more harmoniously in the world, then there has to be another way of viewing the world. I'm not doing it correctly. There's a better way. I really think that it all comes to the way that underlying everything, when we realize that harmony is always there, we become very freed in that moment of realizing it. So we have to acknowledge the upset. If I don't acknowledge it, I walk around with it, and now I'm seeing everything through, how do they say that? I'm looking through the glass darkly. Oh, they are, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean the opposite of that, where I'm carrying the heavy dark. Come on, God, you should know this. Come on. So all of us have these biases, and we also have access to the same amount of freedom, but we have to work it on our own, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to be aware this week. I want you to make a tiny place of willingness so you can see some light and see that when something happens, come on, we think about it. We think about everything. Anything that goes down, we have to then process it. My husband used to get so mad. I'd go, give me a minute, I need to process this. He'd go, oh, I hate it when you use that word. And it's like, no, we're going to think about it, and I want to process it, so I'm going to refine it and hopefully end up with my consciousness rising instead of sinking. When I have an opinion against something, I am carrying an energy in my body that is against. Right? Energetically. Think about how a lot of you are into energy. You know this. You bump into somebody that doesn't feel right. Have you ever been I was at a gathering at one of my kids' house one day, and we were all having such a good time in the living room, sitting around. The kids were somewhere else, and we're all talking, and we're laughing, and all of a sudden this woman, somebody's wife, walked in the room. I didn't know her. Everything changed. It was like, ooh, I don't know her, but I can tell you something. Everybody's got a whole different attitude right now since she came in the room, and I don't want to be that person. Listen, I want to bring that higher consciousness with me, and so do you. You want to do it. We don't want to be walking through life with that against energy, because that's when we separate from others and from God and from our good. We feel limited. We feel like we have to protect ourselves, right? And the minute you go into protecting yourself, then you have a defensive posture, and you're not letting that love flow. You're not allowing that harmony to be the God that you live and move and have your being in. So it changes us. And there's so much in the world right now that we, even if you don't think it intellectually, we pick up on it because it's in the ethers, because so many human beings around the globe are all worried about the same thing. We have to protect ourselves from inflation, so we hoard. Right? We buy a little extra just in case. When you see, shh, don't rat me out. Just being in that class does not give you the privilege. Remember, what happens in that class stays in the class. So we protect ourselves from inflation. We protect ourselves from the virus. And then what happens, because you're doing that, is all the choices you are making are around that way that you don't even know you're carrying that around because it's so subtle. And we've had to do that. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that, but you protect yourself from that angry neighbor who's never very nice, right? And so you diminish any potential for a relationship when you do that. So we want to find the harmony. We don't want to be separated. We want the kind of energy that rises, because if you don't rise, you're doing symbolically the opposite, which is your descent into hell. I think we talked about hell last week. And you get these hellish imaginings. You get images in your mind when you're in that negative or a scary place. My son was out. My son came from California, and he spent Friday and Saturday with me. He left this morning, and he helped me with a whole bunch of loose ends that needed to be cleaned up. He got rid of, he after 50 years, Hugh's tools are finally organized. You want to come over? I got 2 boxes for you of cable TV stuff. And so my dog was acting really weird, and my son said, "Mom, I'm going to take your car to the car wash, and I'm going to take the dog. I think it would be good for the dog to just get out of the house, and it'll change because the dog was upset, I think, because we were just handling everything and working really hard." And so he takes the dog. I went, "Okay, that's cool, take the dog." But then I thought, ooh, they've been gone a long time. Oh my God, you know this story. You know this, you do this too. In your own way, maybe not as dramatic as me. Then I go, oh my God, what if the dog got out of the car and that car wash is on a busy street? And oh my God, what if the dog got hit by a car and my son saw it? Oh my God, my son is going to be devastated. He is probably worrying right now about how he's going to come home and tell me. And then I caught myself thinking that way. Man, that is a fast ticket to hell. Because can you see how I had the imaginings going on in my mind? I thought, they should be back now. Why aren't they back? Oh my God, something bad happened, blah, 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 all the way down to hell. And then I caught myself and I said, and I probably did even in the garage, I'm still working, I probably did stamp my foot down on the floor. They need to get home right now, and I need to relax. and then that distracted me. I got out of the hellishness, and then they pulled up, and everything was fine. And my son laughed when I told him that I, of course, had gone on that journey. When we are going in the direction of hell, we will be engulfed in the fiery consequence of that. And it is usually 90% of the time self-inflicted. We alone can change it. So a gloom and a doom kind of attitude, no matter what it's over, the prestige eye pencil or the worried about the dog or the headlines in the news, the gloom and doom posture, or the way we open to feel that, can fill up a room pretty fast. And it takes space, and the bad news is that it takes space between our healthy thoughts, right? And then we can kind of miss out on that. So I know when that happens in my life that I feel powerless. I feel absolutely powerless. And the truth is, we are not powerless. right? We are never powerless. It is as simple as changing a single thought, but you've got to recognize it. So pay attention. In the West, in Western spirituality, but in the West in general, the culture of us out here in the West, which includes Europe and all the people that think they're so modern, I guess, we like to fix things. Many of us consider ourselves really good problem solvers. We're quick to move into that. But in the Eastern view of spirituality, which is a lifestyle in the East, they have a different approach. And in fact, one of the great gods that they honor and adore in Hinduism is Ganesh. You know Ganesh, right? Or Ganesha. Sometimes we add the A at the end. And so it's this sort of mythological god that is half man with 4 arms, and sometimes more than 4, but usually 4 arms, and an elephant head. Right? You know that. And many of you know that. And he has a broken tusk. And in the story, the legend around has his history, that he took that broken husk and in a fit of anger, he hurled it at the moon, and that the moon spit it back at him. And so he's often, especially in the older original traditional artwork, you'll see Ganesh is holding a tusk in one hand. You also know why we in the West like the god Ganesh. Somebody shout it out. What does he do? Yes, but there's a better way we say it. A more direct way we say it. He is the remover of obstacles. So we like Ganesh because we want all the damn obstacles out of the way. Right? We want to fix the problems. We want to get on the track again, and we want to do all that. But the irony, true irony of this whole story is that in the East, Ganesh is not the remover of obstacles. He is the guardian of obstacles, and he brings them and removes them, and he brings them so that we might grow through our challenges. See, they're not afraid to look at the challenges. We have people in New Thought that won't even say the word problem. And so there's something about that in that Western culture that has changed it. Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. He is the Lord. Some places they call him the Lord of obstacles. He brings challenges so that we might grow. And in the Hindu faith, and this is really valuable if we listen carefully, the challenges of life are the journey. It's not because you've messed up somehow. It's not because you had a bad thought and you need to get that bad thought. You need to change that around. You need to be more positive. It is not like that at all. In the Hindu and the Eastern faith, they believe that Ganesh brings the obstacle so that we might go through the labor of birthing wisdom in our lives. To give birth to wisdom in our lives. And Jesus, because we do Jesus, we don't do, or we do Moses. We do Moses, we do Jesus. Jesus said almost the same thing when he said, resist not evil. So don't avoid your challenges. The most complex of the problems in the world, if we just look biologically, or even in the teachings of psychology, what we can see is the most complex problems are what push us through so that we might evolve to a higher consciousness around everything in the way we show up in life. So the obstacles can be like doorways. I want you to be able to personalize this. I would love for you, for 50% of you, I'd settle for half of you. I would love for half of you to go home today and personalize the headlines, but don't be afraid of looking at your own biases. That's where we start healing. Because the way that you are triggered by whatever is going on in the news that is triggering you, these are our stepping stones to clarity. What seems like adversity is attempting to reveal a greater connection, a union, a wholeness, so that we can have a better understanding and a greater experience of harmony. It is God's desire for us. It is how we are created, and it's why we're talking about viewing the world correctly. In the 1930s, when they revised the Science of Mind textbook, think of what was happening in the world in the 1930s. They were right in the middle of two outrageous wars. A lot of more bad things were about to happen, and they were in the middle of the Great Depression. And in that time, Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote these words. I've said these words often, but not in the last 2 years. But I stumbled on them again. I think it's in page 60 of the Science of Mind textbook. I can verify it for you later. In the 1930s, Dr. Ernest Holmes said, "A new light is coming to the world. We are on a borderland of new experience." He spoke about the way that we cannot see the light yet, but we don't have to see the invisible. We have to have faith in it that it is coming. In the same way that on the darkest night, we know that morning will come. We know the sun will be in our life again. So he had the audacity, it's so brazen. I think of all the people that probably criticized him for talking this way, in the same way I get criticized for being too Pollyanna, which just cracks me up. I do not think I'm that. A new light is coming to the world. The invisible becomes visible through our faith in it. And then he said this, and nothing can hinder its progress. Nothing. How could it not be true? You know, look at what happens after a volcano. Look at what happens after a tornado tears up a town. Always, life continues. These spiritual teachings, any spiritual teaching really, but our spiritual teaching especially, is designed to support us in these challenging times, because that's when he wrote all this stuff. That's when all of his wisdom came. That's when he got really clear in what we can do. And you know what Holmes always said? I did not create anything new. I did not do anything new. I just synthesized these great truths that show up in every religion, in every faith, in every spiritual tradition. And so coming to church on Sundays, it's not just about having hope for difficult days. It's so much more than that. Spiritual teachings urge us. They remind us, and your minister reminds you every Sunday, they remind us of what really matters. Spiritual philosophies provide us with skills and tools and things we can actively do. You should never leave here on a Sunday morning without finding your gem and taking it home and using it during the week. Spiritual teachings urge us to use our own life to be the best that we can be and to make a difference in the world. If ever you don't hear me say that, you're not listening rightly. You're not listening correctly or deep enough. And when we are frustrated, do something. When you find you are frustrated with yet another horrible thing that happened in the world or in your personal life or in your family, when you are frustrated, do something. Because any action, if we take action instead of just being pushed, feeling like we're shoved into hell or closed in by our problems, taking any action will help us feel empowered. As a minister, I want you to hear today that this is my entire life. I believe this with my whole heart. A new light is coming to the world, and we are on the borderland of a new experience. The more you imagine it, the positive, not the horrible what ifs. The more we imagine it, the faster we call it forward. the sooner we will see it here, because we will have practiced seeing rightly. Hard times and hardships, absolutely do sometimes bring out the worst in us or in some people. But for everybody else, for others, a good challenge is stimulating and productive. Claude Monet, painted the water lilies when he had thick cataracts on both of his eyes. John Milton, who wrote the epic poem Paradise Lost, was blind and dictated this massive book to his daughter. And of course, we've heard that Beethoven composed the Ninth Symphony when he was deaf. Do the work that is yours to do. Pay no attention to what looks like the obstacles. Know that a good challenge can be stimulating and productive for us. Do what is yours, and absolutely, utmost and first, we must make a decision to keep love in our hearts and to keep harmony as a fixed goal, that we want to live and move and have our being in that divine rhythm as a guiding force in our lives. And then we will know and understand that in loving the spiritual, we can never despise the earthly. Thank you. So let's just plant our feet on this beautiful earth. Breathe. Settle into this sacred space that we have created in our togetherness, whether we are joined here in the sanctuary or we are watching from the convenience and the beauty and the comfort of our own homes. And together we just touch that inner space, the secret place of the Most High. I feel the love of God within me. I recognize the way this awareness of love shifts my vibration, and that there is an energetic now that can flow and can move, and I can rest comfortably, knowing that the presence of God is right where I am. It is right where we are, wherever we may be right now. In this very moment, I feel that love within me. I feel it moving about this room. I know it is everywhere present. And I sense this urgency to be that instrument that Spirit will use this day to allow that love to be a greater force on this planet. So we open our hearts and we open our minds and we recognize that there's the heavens and the earth, and that there is this commingling of Spirit itself, this oneness, this gorgeous union, where not only can we join in consciousness, but we join in the name of good, willing servants of God, to say yes to the work that is ours to do. And so wherever there is any appearance of a physical ailment, I know that right now, by the vibration of the words of this prayer, there is something stimulated within us that is healing anything that feels like it is out of order, that is removing any obstacle that seems to be blocking the flow of oxygen or blood or just the movement of our thinking. And we allow ourselves to open even more so that the givingness of God, the holy grace that is given, is poured out freely into our lives, that we allow ourselves to be that vessel and to open ourselves to just fill up with that grace. To allow the memory of God's love within us to be awakened and shook and dusted off, so that the love is moving, it is vibrant, it is active, and it is that great force in the universe that lights the new day. It is love that is that new light that is coming. And so we boldly take our place as we stand, knowing that it is a borderland of new experience. We welcome it, we invite it, we trust in God. We know that the light always follows the darkness, and we claim it for our own well-being. And as we just allow it to be stimulated within us, we recognize there's this gorgeous givingness that now comes from us, that touches the lives of our loved ones, that soothes any of the discontent in our lives or in the world. And we allow ourselves to see in that way that God would have us see. We resist not evil, but we use our tools and our spiritual awareness, and we recognize that every difficult headline or situation in our lives or in the world is simply a prayer request. It is an urge in this universe for us to image in our mind the results that we desire. And so indeed we join together today, this very day, a day dedicated to mothers and the nurturing essence of life itself. We allow it to transform within us so that we might transcend those difficulties and see the work that is ours to do. So I say thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, life, thank you, infinite spirit, for this awareness, for this way we feel cleansed and renewed, and for this way we can trust that the law is always working in our behalf. The universe desires to bless us this day. I say thank you, God. I release this with great gratitude into that law that says, yes, my child, yes, yes, yes. We let it be, and together we say, and so it is. Amen, amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Thank you, Bradfords. We are grateful for the Bradfords. We're grateful for the mothers. And so I know some mothers snuck in here late. We won't mention their names. But Hank, if you could, or Bo, if you could help us give out. So if you could raise your hand if you got in late and you didn't get a hug from Bo yet. Bo wants to give you a hug for Mother's Day. So mothers out there, raise your hand.
We got.
Come on, Bo.
I see 4 back there, Bo.
Bo, gotta go.
on back.
Go ahead. Go do it. Because we got to wait for Bo to get those. Because the reason why we're giving, well, he's not only giving you a hug, but we're giving out a raffle ticket. And so if it is, if you get your number get called, then you get to take this beautiful, very expensive flower arrangement home and this beautiful balloon for Mother's Day. So we want to make sure that every mother gets a chance to have their name, their number put in the card. So while we're waiting on that, there's one other thing I want to say, and I'm just stalling here. So we went to Boston to go visit Mark's parents, and it was their 57th anniversary, his parents. And so, but one of my favorite things that we did that weekend while we were there is we took his mom out to breakfast by herself, and it was really wonderful spending that time. And it just made me remember how much I miss my mother. And so the one last thing is I've asked Hank to come up here, and so come on up, Hank. So this is a little surprise for our beautiful Kathy Bradford. She's a mother, if you didn't know. But I asked Hank if he would just tell us 3 things that he loves about his mother for Mother's Day.
So one thing that I love about my mother is she's always so caring and always stands next to me, even if I'm down. And she loves me very much. I know that. She tells me all the time. I love that too. And she always tries to, I don't know how to say this, but she's got a green thumb. She's got a incorporates trying to keep me healthy, everything.
All right, thank you, Hank. Yeah, so she's building a whole garden and all these vegetables out there and everything. So thank you. So come on up, Bo. Bring the basket up so we can draw the tickets. So thank you very much for helping us, you guys, with this. So we definitely want to honor the mothers today. So just beautiful, beautiful people. So I'll let you draw the number.
Okay. The number is 101344.
Yay! All right. Well, not yet, Rose. Not yet. Yeah. We got to let everybody enjoy it. You take it home to enjoy it. All right. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our mothers and the abundance of this community. So let's say our joyous giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Sing that with me. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Why One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
Wonderful to be alive. So I want to remind everybody we have wonderful food afterwards. So please come in with the Gourmet for Gods. I mean the dining with the dudes. Dining with the dudes. So yes. All right. So let's say our closing affirmation together. Repeat after me. I live in harmony.
I live in harmony
Because God is harmony.
because God is harmony.
And I know that I am an expression of God.
And I know that I am an expression of God.
And so it is.
So it is.
Hey, remember, pray often, love much. Thank you.